Hey y'all! Today's video is sponsored by Audible. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment all in one place. At Audible, you can find the largest selection of audiobooks. Their newest plan, Audible Plus, gives you full access to their popular Plus catalog. So now you can listen all you want to thousands and thousands of popular audiobooks, original entertainment, and podcasts. That includes ad-free versions of your favorite shows and exclusive series. And as a new member, you get a 30-day free trial. All you have to do is go to audible.com/cjades or text cjades to 500-500. Again, that's audible.com/cjades or text cjades to 500-500. I'm sure you guys are really familiar with this, but I just started listening to the Amityville Horror. I absolutely love the movies, and I didn't even know there was a book about it, so I started listening to that, and I am absolutely addicted. And if you're not familiar for some reason, basically it's a true story. Like, this really happened. It's about a haunted house. Essentially, a murder happened there and there was a bunch of hauntings afterwards, and it is very addicting to listen to. As I've said previously, I love listening to these audiobooks when I'm editing, when I'm cleaning, or when I'm going on my daily walks. I've been doing a really good job of going on walks almost every single day to keep myself a little bit more healthy than normal, because I'm not the most healthy person in the entire world. But I love going on my walks and I love listening to my audiobooks, and Audible gives me so many different options to choose from. So again, if you would like to sign up for a 30-day free trial, I will have all the information linked down below. But other than that, let's get into the video, because I am back and I have more of your Let's Not Meet stories that I'm very nervous to read today. I also wanted to apologize for not uploading last week. I was having a really rough week and kind of embarrassing. I literally had a panic attack one morning at the thought of filming a video. For some reason, I was just really overwhelmed at the idea of filming. It just really freaked me out. I don't know what happened, but it was like 8 a.m. and I had a full-blown panic attack and I didn't know what to do. So I just did nothing. The whole day, I did nothing. Which doesn't help my case, but I couldn't help that I did not fed. But I am back now, that's all that matters. I'm probably only gonna have 2 videos this week, and then we'll see what happens next week. I just have to get back into the rhythm of things. I also wanted to say I went snowboarding last weekend and I got a concussion, so I'm not fully there. I don't feel like, I don't feel like I had a severe concussion, like there's something actually wrong. But my head still kind of hurts almost every single day. I have a weird spot in the back of my head that just feels like there's a lot of pressure on it. So that was fun. Never going snowboarding ever again. But I will shut the fuck up now and we will get into these stories. So I'm gonna scooch you on back. This first story says, a woman was living in my car for a month. Hey, a lot of crazy shit seems to happen to me, so I thought, hey, why not post about it? So first things first, this happened in October of 2018 when I was 18 years old. My fiance and I lived in a small apartment with 2 roommates on the sketchier side of town, but we didn't mind because we all worked within walking distance of our place. So we wouldn't use our cars, especially my fiance, because the lot to his construction job was literally behind our building. We owned 2 cars at this time, a truck and a Buick. I would mainly use the truck, so the Buick was left on the street for weeks at a time since nobody was using it. So one morning, I was driving to see my mom and sister who lived 2 hours away, and I was using the truck. About 3/4 of the way there, I get a call from my fiance saying a woman was in our garage and she looked cracked out of her mind. He said he opened the garage to start working on his motorcycle and she was just standing in there, looking all sorts of confused. My fiance quickly kicked her out of our garage but had no idea how long she had been there or how she got there, because in order to open the garage door, she would need our key fob or wait until the ghost haunting our apartment opened it for her. I promise I'll post about the ghost soon if you guys want. It's pretty insane and pretty common for the ghost to open the garage. You have to tell us the story. You have to! So my fiance tells me this and we're both pretty shaky about it, but we carry on as usual and I make it to my mother's house. When I got back home, my fiance wanted to surprise me with a date, so we went out to start the Buick but realized it wouldn't start. This was weird because though we rarely used it, we still would turn it on from time to time so it wouldn't wear out. I don't know car terms, so sorry, but you get what I mean. I walked out to the car to check on him because he started trying to fix it when he handed me a purse saying, "Here's your purse, why would you leave it in the Buick? We're not going anywhere." This would have been fine had this been my purse. I started freaking out when I saw there were more items in the car that didn't belong to me, like bras, toothbrush, a charger, etc. I tell my fiance this and we immediately searched the car to see what was going on. It was clear that someone had been living there due to a spit bottle, seemingly for toothpaste. My clothes in the backseat moved and tied together to make a blanket, and all the extra cash in the Buick was stolen, which we didn't care, it was only about $5. So we rushed into the apartment and go through the purse that was left behind. We found $300 cash, a wallet with the woman's medical card, a forged check for $500, and some fentanyl patches. We were shocked to say the least, and to scare my fiance, I showed him the picture from her ID and said dramatically, "This is the woman who's been living in our car." That's when my normally not scared by anything fiance turned white. He told me that the woman from the picture was the same woman who he found cracked out in the garage. I went into a state of shock and didn't know what to do. Why was she seemingly living in our car and our garage? So we did what any dumb 18 and 20-year-old would do and took the $300 cash and dumped the purse about a block away. One of the most concerning parts was the fentanyl patches weren't even prescribed to her, and we asked our neighbor, a recovering drug addict, what the effects were of the patch, and even with it being a patch, it was still deadly if used wrong. So to the woman who was living in our car for a month and hung out in our garage, let's not meet again. Holy shit. It's crazy that you guys didn't notice a woman literally living in your garage. Like, it's crazy that you just never went in your garage or never checked on the Buick. That's it blows my mind. But I hope she doesn't come back, and I really hope that the ghost stops opening that garage so that she can't come back. Okay, and this next story says, I was stalked throughout high school and I didn't even know it. The story starts a couple years back during my freshman year of high school, probably early January if I remember correctly. To preface this, 14-year-old me wasn't exactly popular or sought after by guys at all, which made this extra strange. The first weird instance was pretty anticlimactic. I remember being in rehearsal for the upcoming spring musical and picking up my phone to a notification from Instagram. A follow request from someone named Nice Ass, insert my name here. Gross enough, but nothing that any high school girl wouldn't expect anymore. I hit deny and went about my business, and nothing happened for a few months. Sometime probably in late April or May of the same year, I started getting strange messages from someone with a real name to his profile, but one that I couldn't track down to a real person. He had pictures of my then and still private Instagram account and would send them to me, commenting on specific parts of my body. He would also mention weirdly specific things about me that only a couple of my really close friends knew. I would ask him how he knew me, but I never got an answer. Eventually, I guess he got bored and stopped. That is, until a few months later in August of my sophomore year when my dad died. Only 4 people outside of my family and church knew about it. My boyfriend, my 2 best friends, and some random girl in my algebra class who was the daughter of my Spanish teacher. The story was all over the local news because it was a small plane crash, and 2 other local guys, our close family friends, were killed as well, and I have a really unique last name. But there was no reason for anyone to make the father-daughter connection based off just the news story. I went to school the day after the crash since it was a Friday with a long weekend after it, and on my way home I got another message. The same guy who had harassed me months before, saying he was sorry that my dad had died. I asked him how he knew, and still no answer. Over the next few months, I would get weird messages from what appeared to be the same person. They would all either be my own private Instagram photos and weird comments about them, comments about what I'd worn that day, or disgusting unprovoked comments about my own fucking body. I was disgusted, but I brushed it off. Nothing this guy had sent me was really any reason to be scared of him. For all I knew, he was just some bored, horny high school boy with way too much time on his hands. At least, that was when those weirdly specific messages were only about me when I was at school or on social media. After months of gross and annoying but fairly harmless messages, things changed, especially once I got my driver's license. It started out scary, and then it got fucking terrifying and fast. My first week back to school after a really rough case of mono around Christmas my junior year, I started getting much weirder messages and way more frequently. The first was a badly but still scarily realistic, almost Photoshop version of my most recent Instagram post, edited so that it looked like I was posing naked. I was freaked out and accidentally deleted the message, but to my surprise, it was followed shortly after by another picture. This time of my own ass, zoomed way in. I'm sitting down in the picture and very clearly in class. Okay, freaky, but not horrible, I think to myself. After sitting with the situation for a couple of days, I realized I needed to take it up with the school. I filed a report and sit down with the dean, super uncomfortable conversation, especially since he had to see the photo, but nothing comes of it, except for making this guy mad, apparently. Within the week, the situation is beyond terrifying. He starts sending me pictures of my car, with and without me in it, and my license plate. Then me out in public, times I went to Target or Walmart or even picking up takeout with my boyfriend. And still worse, me pulling into my driveway. He knew where I fucking lived. And because of where I lived, it was scary easy for him to sneak around my yard and get a good look at my house from pretty much any angle. My bedroom is in the open part of the walkout basement and has one window. Unfortunately, when we had the basement remodeled and the old windows replaced, our contractor bought some really shitty ones that are super hard to shut and lock completely. On top of that, our big, scary sounding, but literally completely harmless, mostly outdoor dog, he became really incontinent in his old age and got really anxious when he would potty in the house. Just had to be put down. That left me totally vulnerable with a whole big backyard and woods for this creep to hide in. And that's how we managed to get a picture of my bedroom window. luckily with the blinds shut. I have no idea how he knew it was my room from the outside, but I do know those blinds will never be opened again. Edit. I can't believe I forgot this part, literally the reason the story is titled like this. But shortly after the pictures of me in my car, I started getting pictures of me from as far back as when this all started. They were taken spread out over those 3 years. I could tell based on my hair and what I was wearing. My style changes all the time, so it's easy to tell. So if you're thinking the title is misleading, no. I'm just forgetful and suck at putting events into one cohesive story. Oops. I'm working with the police on this right now, as the end of the story just happened last week. I'll update with any news when I get it and know that I can. Again, sorry this was so long. Thank you for reading. Okay, well I literally have to see if there's any sort of updates. And I don't think there is. I don't think there's any updates, but you have to keep us updated. You absolutely have to. Did you ever figure out who it was? Like, do you know who this person is, or you're just working with the police and trying to figure out who it is? Like, I need to know more details. Okay, and this last story says, human trafficking tire salesman. And then, oh my god, I have a story to tell you guys after I tell this. I cannot forget. I literally can't forget to tell you guys this story. Sorry for my poor writing skills. I'm gonna jump straight into it. In 2012, I was 13 years old in Portland, Oregon. My family wasn't very wealthy and would always search out for the best deals. My father discovered a good deal on some car tires on the website Craigslist. My dad instructed my mom and I to go get the new tires while he was at work. We drove 30 minutes away from home and pulled up next to a bright yellow building with barred-off windows with bright red trim. The building was an eyesore and stood out. My uh-oh feeling was immediately triggered. We got out of the car and approached the shop. A shirtless man approached us coming from the building. He was heavyset and carrying an open beer bottle. He approached with a big smile and the smell of alcohol invaded my nostrils. He looked me up and down, then greeted my mom and quickly turned to me. I smiled and greeted him, shaking his sweaty hand. After the handshake was over, he continued to hold on to my hand. He stood there talking to my mom while caressing my hand. He caressed my hand for a good 5 minutes while talking to my mom about the tires. I stood there disgusted while he still held my hand. I'm not confrontational and didn't want to make my parents lose a good deal on tires. Therefore, I ignored my discomfort and just stood there letting this middle-aged man hold my hand. Once they were done discussing the tires, he began to look at me, still gripping my hand. "She is very beautiful," he said to my mom, while holding my hand and looking at me attentively. "Thank you. I'm very proud of my 13-year-old, my mom responded, making it clear of my age. He looks at me confused. 13? You are too beautiful to only be 13, he states. He begins to rub my upper arm. I stand there staring at my mom, internally screaming. It took everything in me not to kick him and run, but my insecure little self didn't want to make him mad. Thankfully, my mom pulled me away and asked me to go get something from the car. She just wanted me to get away from the man. I quickly step away and stand by the car, wiping my hands off. I made sure to keep an eye on my mom, and I didn't want the creep to do anything to her. The man asked my mom to go inside to talk about the type of tire and time frame for the replacement. Once she goes inside, I'm left alone by the locked car. My mom forgot to unlock the car for me. Thanks a lot, Mom. After my mom is out of sight, the man approaches me once again. So you're only 13? You are so beautiful. I'm sure all the boys like you. I awkwardly smile and thank him. He begins to grab my hair and play with it. Your hair is so soft. I just want to play with your hair forever. Only if you were older. At this point, I was done with this man and his creepy comments and his touchy behavior. I began brainstorming of ways I can get him to leave me alone. "Oh hey, I have a really cool car behind the shop. You want to take a tour and go for a ride?" he asked. "No thank you. I'm trying to be polite. I really didn't want to ruin my parents' chance of getting a good deal for tires." "Come on, a beautiful girl like yourself would love to see such a cool car," he insists. I once again decline his invitation. He quickly tightens his grip of my hair and grabs my wrist. He begins pulling my arm and hair towards the back of the warehouse. I'm pulling away from the car. I quickly begin to panic and resist. Remembering the car alarm is on and locked, I begin resisting harder and harder. I stepped on his foot and he weakened. However, he still held me tight. During his moment of weakness, I resist pulling towards the car. I slam my free hand against the car and pull on the door handle. The car immediately starts to go off. Motion-activated alarm system. He starts to panic and freak out, calling me a bitch and pulling me harder. I lose my grip of the car. My mom runs out of the building and sees me being pulled by the creep. She screams at him. He quickly let go and I ran to my mom. After she checks to see if I'm alright, she turns to the man. However, he vanished inside the shop. My mom, now panicking and feeling unsafe, decided to fuck the tires and get out. She rushed back into the building and grabbed the car keys, and we got into the car and drove away. Fast forward a month, my mom continues to share the story to everyone. One of her friends has a brother who's a cop. Her friend quickly asked him about the location. Apparently the business has been under investigation for quite some time. They're suspected to be involved in sex trafficking and the mafia. The police have been working on gathering evidence for stealing, gang activity, kidnapping, and sex trafficking. When my mom told me this, I was relieved that we left when we did. Hard to think of what would have happened if I hadn't made the car go off. Please learn from me and stand up for yourself if you're ever in an uncomfortable situation. I hope to never meet that shop or the tire salesman ever again. That reminds me, it's not a very similar story, but this sex trafficking thing just reminded me. I'm gonna move you back really quick. John and I were at the airport because we were going to see his family. This is when we went snowboarding and I got my concussion. But we were standing at our gate and John was in the bathroom. I had just come out of the bathroom, so I was standing by myself. And there was this man standing at our gate. And we were about to start boarding, so you would think anybody standing at our gate was on our flight. He had a suitcase, and in his suitcase was his phone that was propped up with the camera facing towards me. This man was just staring at me, like uncomfortably staring at me. And I'm standing by myself, and so I'm already like really uncomfortable. And so I move away from him because I can tell that he's staring at me. I can see that he's staring at me because I'm staring right back at him. But he was staring before me, so it's not like he was staring at me because I was staring at him. Like I was staring at him because he would not take his eyes off of me. So I move like a little bit over to the right, and he also moves over to the right. And then John comes out of the bathroom, and so I stand like behind John, on the right side of John, like kind of behind him. The man moves again so that his phone camera is facing towards me and he's continuing to stare at me. So he goes from being over here to now over here where I'm standing. And like he moved for no reason. Like he was in a perfectly fine spot. So I whispered to John, I was like, that man keeps staring at me. And John was like, yeah, that's kind of weird, like whatever. He didn't really think much of it, but I feel like my paranoia is not shared with everybody. But as soon as our plane starts to board, this man leaves. He just fucking walks away and leaves the airport. Like he was standing there for absolutely no reason. So at that point, when he walked away, John was like, holy shit. Like that was something. Like that was fucking something. Because you would think he was standing there at our gate for like 20 minutes probably, and just waiting for the flight to board. You'd think he was on our flight. He had his suitcase and everything with his stupid phone propped up in his suitcase to fucking record or take pictures. I don't know what it was doing. And then he just leaves as soon as our plane boards. Like it was the weirdest thing. It was so fucking sketchy. And so as soon as he leaves, John was like, okay, you're not being paranoid. Like that was really something. And then we told John's mom about it and she was like, yeah, he was probably seeing if you were traveling alone. And then when he realized you weren't traveling alone, he was probably like, well, fuck, what am I supposed to do now? But the weird thing is, even when I was standing next to John and it was obvious I was with somebody, he continued to like have his phone pointed at me and stare at me. So like, I don't really know what was happening, but it was scary as shit. But that's my story. I don't know if it was actually anything. I don't know if he was gonna like kidnap me or like talk to me or try to be like, do you want to be a model? Like, I don't know what was gonna happen. But it was terrifying nonetheless. And I've been telling everybody that story because I just want everybody to be careful and be aware of their surroundings. Okay. But that is all I have for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other stories that you would like to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit link down below. I told you guys I would read off the email, but I'm mostly getting paranormal stories on the email, so for my next paranormal story video, I will read from the email. But if you can post on the subreddit, that's the best place for you to post because that's where I take a majority of my stories from. But I am gonna go. I love y'all. I will see you in the next one. Bye! I thought that was going to be a good one. That wasn't a good one. I thought I was going to have a decent burp, but I didn't have a decent burp. Okay, see ya.